Hello everybody, this is Loretta again, and another day of talking crap about crap. Um, so, today actually I was thinking that we could talk about labels, and a lot of people in the LGBT community, obviously I mean just here, LGBT or LGBTIQ community, we tend to use a lot of labels and a lot of terms that I don't think a lot of people really understand. And I think using a lot of labels is sometimes good, and sometimes actually it can be a detriment. And then sometimes we overuse it or use it in circumstances that maybe we shouldn't. So we're talking about, when it's good to use labels, when it's bad, and when we should drop labels altogether. So first of all, let's talk about some of the good things that labels does for us. I think labels identifies us, which is good, and it gives a definition, which helps understanding and promotes easier understanding of people in a people group. That's another thing. It creates, because you're identifying under a one blanket term, you are creating a group and a culture, basically, a people group. And I think that's really, really important for a lot of these smaller minorities. The bad. The bad is when you take these terms and instead of using them to promote understanding, you just use the term to be the only understanding you have. And that it's just the term primarily used for insulting or just a disparaging kind of terminology to call someone. And that, in that way, it's discouraging the understanding by using a label so that you don't have to actually think about what that word means or what that person is or at all. Yeah. Okay. So one example, which I thought was an interesting example, would be intersex. I was talking one time to people, and I brought up the idea of, I thought it was really interesting. I had never heard of it before, of intersex people, and I was laughed out of the room. They were like, that's impossible, that's science fiction. If you don't know, bing. Okay. Intersex is when you actually are biologically both female and male, and there's a range and lots of different ways that can happen, so on and so forth. But it's real, and there's a term, and for me, that term created an opportunity to get further understanding and awareness of a group of people that I had never heard about, and then other people obviously are disparaging against, even making fun of them, and like on national TV, if you heard about the Facebook when they added more gender options, that they were literally insulted, basically made fun of on national TV. Just crazy, but not so crazy with my personal experience of just people thinking it was science fiction. So anyway, and in that case, I think having a term to create a culture promotes understanding and understanding of the difficulties, and even visibility difficulties, because of the really terrible things that happen to people who are intersex, like gender reassignment on birth, because people are scared of the idea of someone being both male and female. So nowadays you don't see a lot of people, you don't see what you used to see anyway, because doctors will reassign or assign a gender at birth. So then the parents are all scared, like, oh, is it a boy, is it a girl? Another one of those problems. So for me, we'll talk about labels that I have received from other people. I've had the bad kind of labels that had no intention of actually understanding me or defining me or identifying me in a way to promote understanding, which ironically has not been the traditional, like, I would have expected, like, bag or something like that. But no, instead I got slut, whore, incestuous slut, incestuous whore, and I've got to say, like, for the people who said those to me, that obviously I don't think they understand the definition of those words, like slut. That does not define my sexual experience. Whore, never got money, so no, not yet. And incestuous, that would insinuate with the family, and no, never with the family, so. Anyway, so those are some of the really negative ones that are just purely meant to insult and not actually to understand. There are other ones, like lesbian and gay, which have been used in insulting tones or even in positive tones. And I've even used these terms myself, these labels. However, I've used them knowing they don't fit. I don't know if other people have used them knowing that they don't fit, but those terms, those labels, do not fit me, even though I've worn them and used them and told other people them. Mostly I've used gay. I used gay actually when I came out, because it's obvious that I do not fit the term, the definition of gay, which gay would be a person who identifies as male, liking exclusively other people that identify as male. Alright, so that would be gay, and me? I am not gay. The next term, lesbian, does not fit me either. That would be someone who identifies as female, liking exclusively other people who identify as female. And neither part of that definition fits me. In one case, I actually I have an alternative label that I like to use. In the other case, there is no label that really fits my understanding of me, so I don't use a label. That would be is attracted to, sexual orientation. For me, I think that sexual orientation is a fluid, something that is fluid, and not that is static and unchanging and unmoving. Therefore, to say lesbian as in I think I have and will always only exclusively ever be attracted to people that identify as female would be incorrect, because that's not how I feel. And it may be that the only people that I'm ever in a relationship is female, but that still doesn't mean that I don't think there's a possibility and chance for someone else of any kind of other identity that I might be attracted to. So that, half of that definition obviously doesn't work. The other half of the definition would be identifying as female, and that actually doesn't fit either. Shocker. I know, it may be shocking to some people. No, I do not identify as female. No, I don't identify as male. This is where I would take on the label of queer. And queer can mean a lot of different things, so I like it. It's ambiguous. But in this case, to be queer as far as gender is just to mean different, weird, right? So somewhere in between, or some mix, or something. There are people who feel that they are neither female nor male. And I'm not sure really I feel like in the third gender category of not female and not male. Personally, I probably feel just more of a mix of queerness. So in that case, I like the label because it helps identify a kind of status or a understanding of myself that maybe not a lot of people really understand. In all these cases, though, like there are good cases that I think it helps, and there are bad cases where I think it's not helping, and there are some cases where I think labels should be used because of their helpful properties in understanding and giving a culture and an identity. But then in other cases, I think that trying to use a label for everything, especially when you don't feel a label fits, is silly. If a label is not doing anything good for you, why are you using a label? I think you should only use it when it actually is benefiting you. So in some cases, I don't think that a label for my sexual orientation is benefiting me, or really giving a clear picture of me or how I want to portray me to the world, so I'm just not going to use one. Anyway, so there is our discussion today on labels with me as an example. Woo! Peace and love from Sapporo! Good boy!